okay, this is getting weird. I should stop this immediately. So you're after an Audi A4, but perhaps you're on a little bit of a budget. Maybe then the Audi A3 Saloon could be a better fit for you. It features big Audi tech, but in a more compact shape. Is it a car worth having though? Keep watching to find out, and be sure to subscribe if you're new here. So let's pretend you are some kind of junior executive middle manager or some other kind of poncy job title, and you want a set of wheels to make it look as if you have arrived in life. Well, I think the A3 Saloon could be the car for you, particularly in this S-line trim level, because as standard you get LED lights, 18-inch alloys, a sporty look and rear privacy glass. This car also features the optional Tango red paintwork, which is bound to shake up your corporate car park full of black, white, silver and grey. In fact, speaking of corporate, I did think about donning a suit for this video to set the mood. However, just look at me, look at this beard and this hair. I'd be fooling no one. I'd look like a mix between The Apprentice and Castaway. Oh, I'm a mess. The state of me. Under the bonnet I have a 1.5 litre turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol engine which kicks out 150 horsepower along with 250 newton meters of torque. If you prefer that in pound-feet, I will of course drop a subtitle below. What does that mean for performance? Well, this car will hit 62 miles per hour in 8.4 seconds, which may seem a tad on the slow side, but believe me, this engine is pretty punchy. The top speed, in case you're wondering, is 144 miles per hour. Yes, this 1.5 litre engine. On paper, it may seem just a tad slow, but in the real world, it is quite punchy. And there is a good reason for that. This engine makes use of a 48 volt mild hybrid system, which is able to boost acceleration at lower speeds. So at the lower engine speeds and revs, you get up to an additional 50 newton meters. That means the responsiveness of this engine is pretty impressive. I could almost be tricked into thinking this engine offers more than 150 horsepower. It feels pretty brawny. Just in case you don't want this engine, there are 3 others available. You have another petrol engine, which is a 1 litre, which I believe from memory offers 110 horsepower. I may need to correct myself there with a subtitle. Or you've got a 2 litre diesel, which comes in 2 flavours. Either 150 horsepower, or I believe the other one is 116 horsepower. Again, I may need to correct myself with a subtitle. Now, of course, if you want more power, you can, of course, look at the Audi S3 or the RS3 if you want that extra bit of grunt. But I think this engine, for the most part, will satisfy the majority of buyers because, yes, it does offer a strong amount of performance. It is linked to a 7-speed S Tronic gearbox, which is also pretty responsive. I've used an S Tronic in a few Audis, and sometimes they can be a little bit slow to wake up. But no, not in the case of this car. It's slick, smooth and responsive whether or not you leave the gearbox to its own devices or use the dinky flappy paddles on the back of the steering wheel. From S Tronic to S-Line, this car is of course the S-Line trim level, which means you get the sportier, firmer suspension. How does that fare for ride comfort? Well, in all honesty, it isn't too bad. Don't get me wrong, the ride is somewhat busy, but it is compliant enough for everyday use. Having said that, it can be disturbed by broken roads, so yes, potholes and divots are not the chassis' friend. Mind you, it is definitely more comfortable compared to the Audi A1 I drove a while back, although that isn't a fair comparison, I suppose, because the A1 had a torsion rear beam and the wheelbase was shorter, therefore it was always going to be more uncomfortable than this. Speaking of torsion beam, it's worth noting that the lesser powered A3 models have to make do with a torsion rear beam, so you'll need to get the more powerful engines to get the multi-link set up. Whilst I'm on the topic of suspension, you can opt to delete the S-Line suspension as a no-cost option if you want the ride to be more compliant. The handling won't be as sharp though, so just bear that in mind. In the S-Line trim level and above, you get a choice of driving modes. I have no less than 5 at my disposal. So I've got efficiency, comfort, auto, dynamic and individual. No matter which driving mode you go for, the ride comfort will not change because the dampers are passive, therefore they are not adaptive. The engine may be pretty impressive, but so is the handling. Let's attack some corners and see what the A3 Saloon can do. The brakes perform well, they've got a good amount of bite to them. The steering is responsive and it is pretty quick. And the cornering is very sure-footed. Okay, it's not exactly fun, but it is impressive and I do enjoy it. The grip really inspires confidence. It really gives you that confidence to push on, and you can actually tackle corners faster than you may have expected. So if you really don't need that extra performance or perhaps that extra traction you get from an S3 or an RS3, because of course they have the quattro all-wheel drive system, you may find that this version of the S-Line with the 35 TFSI engine, the 1.5 litre petrol, it may be all you need. Once you've had your fun and settled down to a cruise, you may find that the refinement isn't quite as high as you were wanting or expecting. Now, that isn't to say it is louder than a nightclub in here, although no nightclubs in the UK are loud because of course they're shut, but you get what I mean. But at the same time, it isn't as quiet as a library. You may be able to hear there is a fair amount of road noise making its way into the cabin from these 18-inch alloys. Mind you, the wind noise is impressive and the engine, when you're cruising, is near silent. So yes, the refinement isn't awful, but the tyre noise is louder than I was expecting. And in all honesty, I do find it a little bit disappointing. Therefore, if you're thinking about speccing bigger alloys on your A3 Saloon, I would urge you to just double think on that one, because you may regret it. Visibility out of the car is pretty good. You may expect that the rear window is a little bit difficult to see out of because of course it's a bit more raked compared to the Sportback, but in fact it isn't. Visibility out the rear is absolutely fine. The wing mirrors are fine. I've got no issue seeing out the front. Visibility over the shoulder isn't too bad either. So overall, seeing out of the A3 Saloon, it's a doddle. What about fuel economy? On a combined run, Audi states this engine can offer up to 47.9 mpg and it emits 134 grams per kilometre of CO2. If you're wondering what you will pay for the first year of VED, then I will hand over to voiceover Aaron. Hopefully he'll also tell you about the BIK rating. For the first year of VED, you'll need to pay £220, and in case you're looking to have this as a company car, the BIK rating is 32%. The 1.5 litre petrol is also able to shut down half its cylinders where possible to save fuel, and thanks to the 48 volt mild hybrid system, the engine can shut off completely when coasting. The most efficient engine is the 150 horsepower diesel, which can achieve up to 67.3 mpg and CO2 emissions as low as 111 grams per kilometre. This means for the first year of VED, you'll have to pay £180 and the BIK rating is 26%. Thanks voiceover Aaron, you're the best. You're the best. Oh, stop it you. Okay, this is getting weird. I should stop this immediately. Now, what have I been getting in regard to fuel economy? Well, I drove to Coventry and back, which I've probably referenced a few times now. It depends how I've edited this video, I must admit. And I was getting low 50s, and that was a 300-mile round trip. Again, I've probably mentioned that as well. On this drive right here, right now, yeah, the fuel economy isn't very good because I haven't really been driving this car economically. So I'm getting 38.4 mpg. Yeah, that isn't particularly good, is it? However, if you are concerned about fuel economy, then you do have a choice of 2 diesel engines instead. The new Audi A3 Saloon starts from £25,760 and is available in 4 trim levels: Sport, S-Line, Edition 1 and 4 Sprung. Even the base model Sport has got a good amount of features, including LED headlights, 17-inch alloys, 10.1-inch touchscreen with navigation, rear parking sensors and Audi virtual cockpit, to name a few. Pay £1,900 more and you'll get the S-Line, which adds sporty touches, 18-inch alloys, LED rear lights with dynamic rear indicators, privacy glass, LED interior lighting and front sport seats. Edition 1 starts from £32,515, adding goodies such as 19-inch alloys, matrix LED headlights, black styling pack, Audi Virtual Cockpit Plus, heated front seats and a flat-bottomed steering wheel. That leaves the range-topping 4 Sprung, which starts from £38,415 with added features such as Bang & Olufsen sound system, fine Napa leather seats, panoramic roof and Audi phone box. As mentioned, the car in this video is the S-Line, but this car has got the more powerful engine and the S Tronic gearbox as well as a few options, so the car you're looking at is £31,010. In case you're wondering, the optional extras include the Tango Red paintwork, the Matrix LED headlights, storage pack, extended ambient lighting pack, heated front seats, flat bottom steering wheel and the 4-way lumbar support. In regard to safety, the Audi A3 was awarded 5 stars by Euro NCAP and features standard safety kits such as autonomous emergency braking, lane keep assist and 6 airbags. One of the advantages for going for the Saloon over the Sportback, apart from the more executive look of course, is a bigger boot. Open it up like so and you'll be greeted by 425 litres. That's 45 more compared to the hatchback that offers 380 litres, in case you were about to get your calculator out. Now the boot is bigger of course, but that doesn't mean it is more practical or more versatile, because this is a Saloon of course, therefore the rear screen is fixed into place. So if you wanted to do a small dump run or if you wanted to move some furniture about, this isn't really going to cut the mustard, because of course, although you can fold the rear seats down, it isn't as practical. However, there's more than enough space for your designer briefcase, which I don't have. I have to make do with my trusty car obsession bag. There we go, sling it in like so. Also in the boot, you have a 12-volt socket, a little bit of netting area for storage, and in case you're wondering, you don't get a spare wheel as standard, but you do of course get a tyre repair kit. Now, if you're planning to use your A3 Saloon to transport your business associates around in comfort, then you may be disappointed. Well, I should say they may be disappointed, not unless they are under 6 foot. If, like me, you are blessed with height, then you are likely to find the back of the A3 is a bit cramped. Speaking of which, as always, the driver's seat has been set for me. I'm 6'2", so I am, of course, a taller chap. Let me shoehorn my way in, like so. Right. Now, I do apologise in advance. The lighting is likely to be iffy because this cabin is quite dark and it is very bright outside, but I will endeavour to carry on anyway. As you can hopefully see, knee room and leg room for my height is agreeable. I wouldn't say it is particularly generous or amazing, but I do have just about enough to get comfortable. Where things fall down though is the headroom. Of course, the Saloon has got a more swooping roofline compared to the Sportback. That does mean that headroom has been compromised. As you can see, my somewhat wild hair, my abandoned bird's nest as I refer to it, is rubbing on the roof lining. So if you are 6 foot or over, there is a very good chance you will find it cramped in the back for a headroom. Speaking of cramped, I don't think you could fit 3 adults in the rear, particularly as you do have a thick transmission tunnel running down the middle of the car. However, if you don't have anyone sat in the middle, then the other occupants can make use of the centre armrest for added comfort. Plus, there are also 2 cup holders in here as well. I've got my medium-sized bottle here. In case you are wondering, this is 750 millilitres. Pop it in like so, and it fits just fine. Better still, the cup holders have got plastic prongs in them to help to secure your bottle in place. I like that. Practical thinking. Well done, Audi. You do, of course, get door bins, which again I can fit this bottle into with no issues. a map pocket either side, a hook either side where you can hang up your freshly pressed suit. And what else have you got? You've also got the 12-volt socket, so those in the rear can charge their smart devices whilst on the move, and you've also got ventilation as well. In regard to the other elements of the rear, if you're more concerned about carrying children, then there are of course ISOFIX points. On the whole, the A3 Saloon, well, the rear of the A3 Saloon isn't a bad place to be per se, as long as you're not too tall, but I would argue there is room for improvement. Thankfully, there's more headroom to be found in the front, and this is an area of the car that is definitely more comfortable, although it's still likely to be quite dark on camera, so again, I do apologise. Getting a comfortable ergonomic driving setup is easy because, as you would expect, the steering wheel adjusts for rake and reach, like so, and my driver's seat also has a good level of adjustment, although it is all manual apart from the 4-way lumbar support, which is an optional extra. The other optional extra I have for the seats is a heated function, which is quite nice, although on a day like today, where it is glorious, I don't need it. Now let's touch upon the practicality. The door bins are of a decent size. I can fit in a medium-sized bottle. There we go, there's the same one from the last clip. And I've got a bit of space left over for a few snacks. There's also a small cubby hole to the right-hand side of the steering wheel, where you can pop 1 or 2 smaller items in. I use it to store my wallet. That's quite handy. In the middle, of course, you've got the almost obligatory 2 cup holders. You've got little, not clips, you've got little pieces of trim that come around like so to secure your bottle into place. Or you could fold them away and just use this as another cubby hole. You've got a really small slot here where I suppose you could put the key. A tray in the middle where you can put your smartphone, although this car doesn't have wireless phone charging as standard, although it can be added as an option. However, you do have 2 charging ports here. You've got 2 USB ports, a Type A and a Type C. Type C makes it a bit more future-proof. There's storage underneath the centre armrest, which is adjustable by the way, which I really like. Not a lot of storage to be had here, but again, you can put a few smaller items into. And of course, last but not least, you do of course get a glove box which offers a decent amount of space, and it's lined with fabric. Ooh, nice, very nice indeed. So to sum up, is the Audi A3 Saloon a worthy alternative to the Audi A4? In my opinion, probably not, no. If you ask me, the comfort and the refinement levels just aren't quite there, unfortunately. So if you do happen to be a junior middle manager or whatever, I urge you to work a little bit harder. Perhaps laugh at your boss's jokes more or make them coffee on demand. However, what if you aren't aspiring to be on the next series of The Apprentice? Well, the A3 Saloon is a very good looking car. It has a punchy engine, a good amount of kit, and it has a bigger boot compared to the Sportback, although it isn't quite as practical, of course. However, I think this will look much better parked on your drive. Anyway, time for me to finish. I do hope you have enjoyed this video. If so, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession.